Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Dad's a Dagobah. We're reviewing the season finale of Andor, episode 12. Uh, Sean, it came out almost a week ago. Why are we just now filming it?
A couple reasons, Joseph. Number one, it was the Thanksgiving holiday here in the US of A.
For all of our international
For our
viewers.
international viewers, that's a holiday that happens the fourth Thursday of November. And so I think we were a little busy. You were traveling, seeing family.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually under the weather. I wasn't
Oh,
feeling super well. But I mean, I could have filmed if push came to shove.
you
But you know
you and
what?
Trevor
We
were trying to do a mutiny on me? Is that what you're trying to do?
No, but I felt like we needed some time to let the episode rest, let the season finale rest, savor the season that we just had, and really collect our thoughts on not just this episode, but the impact of this entire show, season one, and how we felt like episode 12 really, wrapped up what we've experienced over the last 12 or 11 weeks or however many weeks, since there were a few that dropped on the first week.
Can I start off with a hot take real fast?
Yes.
Here's my hot take. Disney's hurt themselves by producing a show like this. And the fact that they've got a lot of their future projects are going to be compared to Andor. Every time they have a season of 6 episodes shot in the volume, people are going to be like, well, that stunk, you know?
Yeah. Well, I agree with you 100%. Um, I think that any show moving forward now, it's very clear to me that the 12 episodes is better than the 6 episode kind of mold that they had created with Marvel and Star Wars,
Uh-huh.
up until I guess Mando wasn't 6 episodes, but I mean, the Obi-Wan show, Book of Boba Fett, all the Marvel shows, that those 6 episode arcs were, I don't think that they're as effective in being able to really tell the story in the medium of television. It's like longer than a movie, but not long enough to be a TV show.
Right. And just the production quality, the writing, the editing, the storytelling, everything is so much better than anything else we've ever had that it's funny that this relatively unknown, not well advertised, not well marketed show came under the radar and made such a huge splash. I mean, it made a splash outside of Star Wars world, and the fact that other people who aren't Star Wars people started watching it and said, "Oh, this is good stuff."
Yeah. Well, even to the point that Disney, obviously it was on Disney Plus, but they started to air it on like ABC.
Uh-huh. I don't
Like
think they
just
did that with Mando.
no. No. So yeah, I do. And I think I saw recently that, Rotten Tomatoes, the critic scores like a 95 and the audience scores like a high 80s. I mean, it's something that um, I think Star Wars fans, we love and appreciate, but it is one of those shows that has gained, acclaim and or, just fans outside of the diehard Star Wars fans that were going to watch it anyway.
Yeah, are these fans going to stick around though? Are they going to stick around for a sequel to Book of Boba Fett? Are they going to stick around for Mando season 3? Maybe Mando season 3 they will because of the pop culture that it's become. But
I think there will be stick around for Bad Batch season 2.
I was going to say Acolyte. I mean, that's another unknown show we don't know much about.
Well, I hope that Star Wars in general learns a lesson from this. That, let's be honest, the Disney era of Star Wars, at best, we can describe as divisive. And it seems like no matter what decisions they make, people are complaining about it.
Yep.
And this is like one of the first times that I feel like I'm not hearing a whole lot of complaint, on the Twitter sphere and on social medias.
The complaint I hear is from the edge of Star Wars people who watch a show, but they're not. They're my coworkers at work who say, "When's the next episode of Mando coming out?" We're like, "Oh, that's going to be probably in February of next year." I know it. They don't, but they know. Oh, okay, something's coming up. And when Andor came out, they're like, "It's kind of slow," and I'm like, "Just stick with it. Just stick with it." The first two episodes were slow, but we thought the same thing about WandaVerse, and that turned out to be you know, a good show in the end, right? And so it takes
What show?
WandaVerse, WandaVision.
WandaVision.
Why did I say WandaVerse?
I thought you were naming a Star Wars show, and I'm
No,
like,
no, sorry,
what?
sorry, sorry. WandaVision. I mean, those first three episodes were like, what are we watching right now? And that had a good pickup. I think feel the same way with Andor. It was like, just stick with it, you guys. So
Yeah. Well, another thing that happened last week is that Uncle Bob Iger,
yeah, Chapek's out.
is back as the CEO at Disney, which, maybe he's the type to say, hey, this Andor thing, we've got something there. We need to pivot our Disney Plus strategy to put some more production value into these shows. I I don't understand why every time there's a new show or a regular show on Netflix or anything, it's at least 10 to 12 episodes, if not 20 episodes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, so I'd like to see some of these amazing franchises that have huge fan bases. We're gonna watch a 20 episode season of a Star Wars show.
I mean, people. I mean, how much Stranger Things? The last episode was 2 hours.
Yeah.
Why didn't they do that with Obi-Wan? I still cannot fathom why they thought 40 minutes 6 times was adequate enough for people to get excited over Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. I mean, still, we loved it at the end. The final episode was some iconic Star Wars moments that will live on forever. But, like, none of the other episodes were just hot garbage, looking back on it.
Yeah, we've said it so many times during this Andor season. Even when it was slow, Andor didn't ever feel like filler episodes.
Yeah.
Whereas Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, and even Mando, there were always episodes that felt like this doesn't serve the show or the story at all.
It's like that 11 Goes to Chicago episode.
Yes,
You're
that's
like,
exactly what it
okay,
was like.
what was the point of that?
Yep. And even when there were slower transition episodes in Andor, it was always serving the story, serving the character development, the plot, whatever it was.
Yep.
And so the pacing might have been slow, but it didn't feel irrelevant.
And the flashbacks were relevant to the part of the story we were in. The flashbacks weren't some back to tank, let's go back in time and tell a story that has no bearing on what's happening now.
I forgot about the back to tank in Book of Boba Fett.
It's like he's in the back to tank. Get me to the Bacta. Doesn't he say that one time to the
Yes.
Gamorreans?
And even doesn't he say that about Black Chrysanthemum too? He's like, get him in the back to.
How come we didn't have a Chrysanthemum flashback sequence?
Seriously.
Anyway.
Well,
should we talk about the episode?
Let's talk about the episode. Now, you gave a hot take, which I agree with. Like this has set a new bar for me in terms of storytelling on Disney Plus.
We know they can do it now.
Yes.
It's possible to tell a great Star Wars story.
Yeah. And yes, so yes. Now my hot take about this episode specifically is I don't know, or I personally don't feel like it was a home run season finale. I think that it wasn't enough. It lacked in a few areas for me. Did I think it was a bad episode? No. But I don't necessarily think they stuck the landing on the season finale for what was an amazing season of Star Wars television.
Oh, they built it up so much this season. You were expecting something great for the finale, huh?
Well, I definitely expected some more closure on certain plot points or storylines that we just did not get. And I understand there's a season 2, but from what we know about season 2, where it's going to be 12 episodes again that span 4 years, I feel like it's going to be a much different feel than season 1.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure that these things from season 1 are all going to carry over and translate into season 2. But maybe they will. But anyway, let's start like we always do, Joseph, and discuss our word of the week.
Yeah,
Do you have a word of the week
I
for
do.
season 12 or episode 12?
My word of the week: forbidden love. We have our two. Well, we have our ISB agent and our wannabe ISB agent in the storage closet. Find themselves having spun the bottle, and now what do they do in the closet? They are both unsure of. You feel like there's something there. They just don't know what to do with it. A great scene, very awkward, but played perfectly by both actors.
The awkwardness and the tension in that scene was palpable. Like I felt it in my own home
Yeah.
when I was watching it. It was pouring out of the screen where I felt like I don't think I should be here. I think that I need to give them some privacy because it was so weird. Like, are they about to kiss or are like she's like traumatized after having almost just been ripped apart literally
How
by
did
a
she get
frenzied
away?
mob.
That's what I'm confused about. She was being carried. It looked like she got knocked over, right? Lost her hat, and then like everyone like picked her up, like all these Ferrex people, and then somehow she gets away, and Cyril has her. I'm like, where did that transition happen? Do you have any ideas?
I think it was just a frenzy.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. But yeah, that was definitely an awkward scene that was almost I mean it was almost comical. Like what is happening right now?
What is going on?
You want to hear my word of the week, Joseph?
Yeah, I've been waiting.
My word of the week is orthodontics. Because when my man, a character that catapulted in popularity for me through this episode, Brasso, when he clocked that Imperial dude across the face with Marva's death brick, all of those officers' teeth have to have fallen out. He's going to need some medical intervention to get that smile back. And I have loved the social media response of that moment and people saying, you know, when I die, melt me into a brick and slap me across the face of a Nazi or a fascist. Like that's how I want to serve the world in my death
What a better way.
is
What a
for
better
my
way to
death brick
go.
to be smashed across the head of a fascist.
Oh, I love it. I don't know that we should. I mean, should we go through the episode little by little? I mean, I'll just kind of highlight my favorite parts. One of my favorite parts was when the Imperials were like during the melee, the time grapplers up there chiming away still, and they're like, "Go get him!" And instead of shooting at him with their ranged weapons, they go climb the stairs, and he kicks a stormtrooper out of the tower. I loved it.
And that was one of our predictions from last week is that we thought he might be one of the characters that dies. And I was expecting he's going to die. They're going to go up there and shoot him. And so that was totally an awesome moment when he King Leonidas Spartan kicked the guy out of the tower.
Well, I mean, they did kill a lot of people in this episode. I mean, there were several kind of no one real major. It was all kind of minor. Well, I mean, I guess that one spy well, I guess both spies, both the ISB spy and then the Ferric spy, they both have their demise. But like, there's some other minor characters of Ferric that also passed away too. Like the one guy who got shot, and like we focused on his face for like 8 seconds.
Yeah, he was like the phone operator guy that Cassian originally called.
Right, right, yep.
And then yeah, the ISB spy Cinta just straight up like shanked him.
He was a
And
terrible spy.
terrible. Terrible. And then yeah, the friend, the Ferric's friend guy that ratted them all out, he died in the explosion at the hotel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I also loved the song. I loved the music. Very similar to the Aldani heist, where the music served a purpose of building tension. They built tension in this episode for what, 9 solid minutes? Just that slow march. I was like, what is about to go down? And then I'm like, oh, there's more than 30 people. Oh, they're not going to box them in, you know? Why did
Yeah.
the Empire put a, we talk all the time about the Empire did this, but I mean, you see all these people coming, you got to break that up fast. You don't just let them keep marching. But I loved the music. Oh my gosh. And then how it was also this music of the opening for the past 11 weeks. We had no idea the whole time. It was a death march, funeral march.
It was the Ferric's funeral march. And another great thing that scene gave us was it canonized marching bands. I have a feeling there's probably a high correlation between adult Star Wars fans that were probably also in their high school marching band.
Were you in your marching band, Sean?
I wasn't. I was in band, but my school is, fun fact, my school is actually too small to even have a marching band. So football was not a thing in rural Montana. Um, but yeah, so that was fun. And I agree with you that you could tell the Empire had put all these preparations in place. They had told, Deidre, Miro, you can't, we told them they can't have more than 30 people. They're, all these things. And then you realize, oh, the people of Ferrix are not obeying those demands by the Empire. They're
Yeah,
going to
they
do
have
whatever they want to do.
a very specific time they're allowed to do it for, and then all of a sudden the chiming starts going off, and the Empire's like, "What's that?" Like, now's not the time. Just loved it, and then like how different parts of the community all came together, like they all were coming from different directions to the same spot. Man, so great. What'd you think of Luth in this episode? He was an interesting character. I mean, we didn't see the lightsaber like Trevor thought. What an idiot Trevor is. Sorry, Trevor.
I don't think that what we saw was a lightsaber last week. I was on record last week saying that it wasn't a lightsaber.
We don't know yet, though. It's not confirmed. It isn't.
Well, really, one of the things that I think, I don't know if this is why I felt with my hot take of this not sticking the landing, is I felt like a lot of stuff happened with our side characters, but not a lot happened with the main characters we've been with and have been prioritizing this season. And Luthen is one of them for me, where he mostly just kind of stood as a spectator most of the episode, which is fine. I'm not like saying I wanted him to get out there with the lightsaber, but you know, he went to Ferrix to kill Cassian, and then the one thread that obviously is the most important of the show is Cassian's arc to become committed to the cause.
Yep.
So clearly that, like, they stuck that landing. Like, they definitely showed that. And the last scene with Andor and Luthen, what it was. I guess I got to the end of the episode and thought in my head, why did Luthen never consider that? Why was it from the get-go, we've got to kill this guy, he's a loose end, instead of recruiting? You would think Luthen would be more open to trying to recruit more people to the cause.
I wonder if it's because he did try to recruit him, or he was going to recruit him until he ran away with half the money in the ship. You know.
That's true. That's true. At
Um,
the end of the Aldani heist, I feel like Cassian was not committed to the cause.
yeah, no. He just did it for the money. Quick buck. Had to pay some debts, right?
Yep.
Um,
Good point.
let's see. We've talked about. Let's talk about the scene with Marva. Good old Marva. Sean, did you know? Did you know? Originally, at the very end, when Marva says "fight the Empire," you can see in the hologram she does not say the word "fight."
Is that confirmed? I thought that was a meme.
What do you mean?
I saw that on social media that they thought she was saying the F word.
So it's been reported that uh, some extras on the set when it was filmed leaked a few months ago that the F word was said on the scene at the for that scene. And so when people saw it, they were confused as to why she said fight. And then looking more closely at her lips, I watched a video on it today. You can definitely tell she's not saying fight. She's saying something else. So I want to ask you, Sean, what would you have done if an F word was in Star Wars?
Uh, Nothing. I would have written an email to Bob Iger.
You mean Bob Chapek's?
Yeah, no.
I don't know. Just thought it was funny. I'm kind
I
of glad they took it out.
it definitely, as someone who, I'm more of a
Curses
kind
a
of
lot.
yes, as someone who just has the vocabulary like a drunken sailor. No, as somebody who ha- lives a little bit more of a clean cut, traditional value type life, young family, and we don't really use that type of language. You know, I understand I'm probably in the minority there of adult Star Wars fans. And so I'm not trying to be a goody two shoes or some sort of prude that's like, oh, if they said the F word, I'd be all upset and wouldn't watch Star Wars anymore. But I prefer being able to watch that show with that would have taken that show into a different tone or different level of maturity
Yeah.
that while it was still grim and dark, you know, it was I would say, I don't know, 10, 11, 12-year-old could probably watch that show just fine. And if you're a parent that doesn't want your child, hearing that type of language, but then again, they're hearing it at school I don't have it.
Hmm.
Like I said, I don't have a strong opinion on it. I wouldn't have been that upset, but I don't feel like I want them to start using, strong language like that in my Star Wars shows.
I agree. I'm glad we're in agreement there. But yeah, if you want to rewatch next time, you can definitely tell. Anyway,
I mean,
I thought,
it was a great speech though.
oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
I mean, I think that actress will always be known as Aunt Petunia for me, but after that final episode, I feel like Marva was a great character in this series, even though she was only in 3 or 4 episodes.
Hmm.
She was a memorable character. She had, and
And there's a nice moment between um, Andor and I don't want to get his name wrong. Braxius,
Brasso,
Braxius, Braza,
Brasso.
Brasso, where he says, like your mother knew you'd feel this way. This is what she wants to tell you. She loves you. Like kind of like no hard feelings, and just such a sweet scene in that episode. I loved it.
What I really liked about the episode too was that Cassian being back, there was a reward, a bounty, whatever it was. They that could have been a temptation for any of those people to be like, hey, we're going to rat you out. But it almost was like you could feel the sense of community on Ferrix. And certainly Marva's speech, like, just embodied that and, you know, motivated basically the community to like rise up together against the Empire in that moment.
Yeah, so much so that it even seemed like there's a brand new character we're going to be seeing a lot more of in, well, I guess two new characters. One is the son of the shop owner who made the bomb and got on the ship, and then one of the daughters of Ferrix, who's now piloting the ship. And was she in other episodes? Was this kind of her first? Have I missed her in other episodes?
I think she was only in one other one, which was when they were cleaning out the house right after Marva died,
Yes,
and she
yes,
was there
yes. And she
helping to
kind of
clean out the house.
she talked to the droid, right? Like,
Yeah,
we got to keep going. That's right. Yes.
yeah, she was talking to B2 Emo, but yeah. So I was surprised by that. I agree with you because it almost sets up like that's going to be kind of a little crew in season 2. Like,
Yeah.
are they going to
It's
be?
Bix and Brasso and
And
daughter of Ferrix lady, and then son of shop owner guy.
yes, yeah,
And B2 Emo.
yeah,
So
yeah. So they're going to become their own little rebel cell or something. I don't know.
I guess so. Yeah. Well, I mean, Andor is now with. I mean, I would assume they'd join up with Luthen, but I'm sure Luthen has. He's like, well, let's go do other. He probably has other things he needs to work on. According to a shop owner, you know, that lady's one of many. Like, you're not
Right,
the only piece of the wheel here.
right.
Um, let's talk a little bit about Mon Mothma. I've seen some interesting takes on what happened there. People, it seems like, don't quite understand, and maybe I'm misinterpreting what happened, but as I saw it, she gets into the ship with her husband. We've set up already that she knows her driver is a spy, and then she unbuttons her shirt, kind of loosens up a bit, and tells the driver they need privacy to mute. Driver obviously unmutes very quickly. I think she knows. I think that whole talk, yeah, I agree too, because other people were saying she told she made up this, or like was not aware that she was being listened to. I'm like, no, we already established that she knows it the whole time. It was all, I think it was a total fabrication, or maybe it was not total fabrication, but a stretching of the truth. Because her husband was like, I don't know where you're hearing this from. I mean, I'm I do have a little bit of a gambling thing, but not like to the levels you're talking about. Is that the same read you got? That she's then using it to hide this money transferring from the Empire, right?
1000%. She's
Okay.
planting that story.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
And she's basically gaslighting her husband. I think Perrin's telling the truth. Perrin's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I think that he probably did have gambling problems in the past. I don't think he's been having any gambling problems, but she's recognizing I need a cover story for where this money is in case this goes south and I can't get this Davo money.
And why I'm working with this thug.
Right. And so, yeah, 100%. I feel like she knows she's being listened to and spied on. And she's using, clearly, she's not like, her marriage is not good. So she doesn't feel any type of loyalty to her husband to like bring him
Yeah. Not burn
the
bridges.
into the inner circle of we have this problem we need to fix. Like, he doesn't know about the rebellion. He doesn't know about what she's doing. Like, she's not sharing that with him,
Yeah.
which in and of itself is telling. So she's more than willing to use him as a pawn to help cover up
Throw him under the bus. And he's like, what are you talking about?
the political coup that she is trying to fund.
Yeah. I loved it. Okay, good. I'm glad I got the same read. Because when I listened to other people, I was like, did I misinterpret what was going on? Because then they have the scene with the Empire, and the guy says, we've noticed some interesting things on her account. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this kind of solidifies what the whole deal was. She
Which
totally
makes
fooled
me
him.
which makes me wonder, is it even necessary for her anymore to like get the money from the thug guy, or was that sufficient? Like she threw the empire off her scent.
Oh yeah. Well, her daughter's married now, so I guess not
Well,
technically married, but
they got introduced.
yeah.
Which again, I've seen some interesting analysis on that too. That the daughter kind of gives Mon Mothma a little bit of a look or a glance, and Mon Mothma's like not even looking at her, like so consumed in thought with other things that it's like there's something there of her daughter's looking to her in a moment looking for some support or encouragement or something, and Mon Mothma's like not able to provide that.
Hmm.
And I think is just still kind of sick with herself on what's happening in her family.
Right.
But yeah,
Anyone else we need to talk about? We have Bix. Bix got rescued from the hotel. Great scene. Kind of. Uh, I'm glad she got saved. I think there was some worry that she'd be a character who would die off, but glad she's sticking around. We didn't see Andor's sister though. I wonder if that will ever be addressed in season 2, or if that's just something Andor will take with him to his ultimate demise. I don't know. What do you think?
yeah. Well, that was one of the things that I was on my list. Not a huge plot point that I felt like we had. It's fine. It's not like it doesn't ruin the show that we didn't get closure on that. But I felt like they mentioned it. It was obviously the very first thing in the first episode, like that we got this. Then in the first couple episodes, we get these flashbacks of him as a child with his sister. Marva finds him, takes him off planet, takes him to Ferrix, like all this stuff. And after those first 3 episodes, you think, okay, it's over. But then when he comes back in like episode 7, after the Aldani heist, Marva brings it up again. And it made it feel like why are they harping on that again if it's not important?
Yeah, the fact that they keep bringing it up told us this is an important thing. Let's remind the audience of this again.
Yeah, but then literally that one it became a throwaway line. We never see Andor at all even think about, talk about, make any effort to follow
Mhm.
that
Yeah, that's true.
plot line of finding his sister. But so that was something that I felt like was somewhat odd. Didn't ruin the show, but I mean, it was like, oh, okay, what happened with that? That was
Yeah.
weird. Um, we also another thing that I feel like going back to my hot take of things that I was hoping for a little bit more on, I guess I felt like we didn't get um enough from Saw Gerrera. So I'm not sure that Saw was really relevant in this first season. And so why was he really even in the season? I guess to show that they're still kind of fractured or whatever. I would have liked to see a little bit more in terms of what he's up to or what's going on, or more of an arc for him, I guess. It felt more like a cameo than an actual important character arc.
Yeah, I think probably season 2 will show more of him.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I get. Maybe this was more kind of an introduction to him, at least this point of his life, right? Before we see his, you know, Rogue One self.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's interesting. We also didn't see the battle of on the power station, right?
Yep. Krieger. We didn't see Krieger. We just heard that they all died,
Yep.
which is what you predicted. It'd just be off screen.
And it was interesting too, like uh ISB was like, we did this to give us a win. How'd they phrase it? To give a win to Palpatine? Is that kind of, wasn't that the sentence?
It
It's kind
was
of like
like, yeah,
we,
to wipe the bad taste of Aldani out of Palpatine's mouth or
that's
something.
what it was. That's what it was. I loved it. And the ISB lady, still can't remember her name,
Deidre.
Deidre, was like, no, this is happening here on Ferrix. Like, you guys need to be out here. And they're like, yeah, they're all like celebrating in the background. They're like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We did this. They have no idea, you know.
Yeah. Well, I also, unfortunately, we never found out more about Uncle Harlow or
Uncle
his
Harlow,
identity.
R.I.P.
I wanted to know what was going on with the mom and Uncle Harlow. I wanted that to tie in somehow.
We should start a campaign. You know how they do like Admiral Veer's watch, or they want a Jar Jar Binks or Han Solo 2, make Han Solo 2 happen. We should do bring in Uncle Harlow. Start that
Seriously.
hashtag trend.
Anytime there's ever a mystery character from now until the end of time, I'm going to just assume it's Uncle Harlow.
Oh man. Anything else? I think we've covered everything.
How do you feel about Vel and Cinta? Do you feel like you got enough on
I mean, did they
from those
break
two?
up? Are they not a thing anymore?
I don't know. I feel like they need to commit. The showrunners, the show writers need to commit to what is this? It's just I
Well,
need
Cinta is all
yeah.
business, no pleasure. And Vel is, come on, let's get out of here. What are we doing here? Put work away. Anyway, well, that's all I've got. I mean, I don't have much more to say. We could go through some of the things we talked about last week we thought would happen. We had the idea that Marvel would still be alive. That is, we did see her though. I mean, a cool hologram scene, right? But she's not alive. Uh, we don't know about the Jedi stick yet, right?
We
I mean,
know.
no.
We know in our hearts it's not a Jedi or a lightsaber.
What else did we have? Did we have people dying? Who did we?
We said that more than 3 speaking characters would die, which I guess was true.
So we had the two spies, and then the communications guy, right?
Yeah.
What else did we have? The off-screen battle of the
Yep.
power station.
I think yeah. You know, another thing that I'm thinking about it too. I know this can again this can happen in season 2, but I was surprised a couple episodes when Andor and Melshi just like split up. Like, how does Melshi find his way back to the rebellion? I guess that's a season 2 question.
Well, I mean, when they split up, it was last episode. They split up, and Melshi said, "I want to go find. I'm going to go tell this." Didn't he say, "I'm going to go tell the story"?
Yeah, people need to know what
People need
is
to know what
happening.
happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anyway.
Well, I felt like it was a fantastic show, obviously. Um,
Okay, can I get your official rankings? Can we do official rankings right now?
okay. What
Of
are
the
we ranking?
five Star Wars shows we've had so far on Disney Plus, Mandalorian, Bad Batch, uh, Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan, Andor. Where does it rank in those five? Basically, is it better than the Mandalorian or not?
I think it is. I think it holds the season finale didn't change anything that we've said over the course of watching Andor, which is overall it was more consistently great than any other Star Wars show.
Easily.
With that said, I feel like Mandalorian and Obi-Wan for me have higher highs than Andor had.
Hmm.
Mandalorian and Obi-Wan both had moments that to me were more iconic, memorable, nostalgia, fan servicey moments that I like thought were really cool than Andor had. But Andor is a better show, in my opinion.
I can totally agree with that. Are you talking like Luke Skywalker coming? Is that one?
Oh yeah,
Or the dark saber?
Mandalorian season 2 finale with Luke coming back, like that was amazing. Mandalorian first episode of season 1 with the Baby Yoda reveal, that was amazing. Like when you watch that, that was like a hype moment. That
They
was
do
such
know
a
Mandalorian
hyped
does
up
know how
moment.
to end a season. They ended Moff Gideon coming out with the dark saber. They ended season 2 with coming out with Luke Skywalker. Book of Boba Fett didn't really have a good finale, but they had a good uh, little bit of Mandalorian where they had Ahsoka and Luke and Grogu all together
Yeah.
building the Jedi Academy.
Yeah. And so I guess what I want to be I what I want to be clear about from my opinion is the praise that I'm giving to Andor does not mean that I'm trying to put down Mandalorian or Obi-Wan or Book of Boba Fett as bad shows or that they weren't good, because I really enjoyed them and I don't think they were bad shows. Um, Book of Boba Fett may be a little mediocre, but again, I just think Andor was more consistently great. And so over the overall product, I think Andor was and is the best Star Wars TV show that we've gotten so far on Disney Plus. So I would go Andor, Mandalorian, Obi-Wan. What are my other two? Book of Boba Fett and Bad Batch?
And maybe Clone Wars season 7. That was a good season though.
Yeah, well, the last 3 episodes or 4 episodes of Clone Wars season 7, I mean, that's up there too. But that's, animated. But I would go Andor, Mandalorian, Obi-Wan, Bad Batch, Book of Boba Fett. I just think
uh,
Book of Boba Fett had some issues. Again, it had some cool moments, but it was just like I don't feel like it was very well thought out.
no, not at all. They had a good idea, poorly executed. So much so that they brought in 2 Hutts on a platter and we never saw them again. That was like the most exciting thing. We were speculating so much on that. And then, lo and behold, well, maybe we saw them one more time, but
And again, I will say Book of Boba Fett probably would have benefited from the Andor treatment of make this 12 episodes, because it was too short of a season to try to cover flashbacks of Boba Fett from 5 years earlier when he was in the Sarlacc pit and with the Tusken Raiders. Now what he's trying to do now in Mos Espa as the new daimyo,
uh-huh.
and Mandalorian side note
Side
here.
quests. Yeah, that we
Yeah.
got to fit in somehow.
It was those were three major things that they were trying to squeeze into 6 or 7 episodes that just didn't work. It
I mean,
needed more room to breathe.
the main 3 we had in this episode were the escape from Ferrix, the heist of Aldani, and then the prison escape, right? And then kind of the finale episode. But they did it in 12 episodes in some great 3 episode arcs. That
Right.
yeah, you could have told the story of Boba Fett and the Tuskens in 3 episodes, and not have this dumb flashback business going on,
Yeah. So
and
what are
make
your
those. Sorry, what?
I was going to say, so what are your rankings then for the shows? I gave mine.
Listen, Andor is far and above my number one. It's not even a competition to me. I agree that there are some great moments in Mandalorian that stole the. I mean, filming ourselves, watching season finales, just going crazy over Luke Skywalker and speculating about whether Ezra's going to be in it or Thrawn or what, who. When Ahsoka shows up in live action for the first time, ignites her double white lightsabers. Amazing, right?
Frog Lady.
Frog Lady, giant spider planet, uh, R5 cameo. I mean, just incredible moments, right? But Andor consistently, week after week, showed me I need to grow up a little bit as a Star Wars fan and not concern myself with the cameos and the fan service, but care about the character development. And even though some episodes were slow and there were some, I'm glad they had like the first two episodes on the same day, right? Kind of get a taste of, okay, this is what the show's going to be like. I think Andor's my number one. Mandalorian is easily my number two. Uh, Obi-Wan, man, where does Obi-Wan land? You can't beat that final fight scene, even though I couldn't see half of it because it was so dark. But I mean that those 3 minutes of them talking to each other. I mean, they need to do they if they come up with an Obi-Wan season two, maybe it'll be better in my mind. But I think
I don't see why they would do an Obi-Wan season 2. It's not, and do what? You can't have Obi-Wan and Vader fight again.
fight again.
And that would be the only, that's what that show needed to be about. It needed to be about Obi-Wan and Vader. And it was, and they did that, and it's over.
But they did it so poorly with some great moments. I don't know. I would say uh, Bad Batch. There's no way Bad Batch is better than Obi-Wan. Is Clone Wars season 7 better than Obi-Wan? Is the real conundrum.
I'm not as down on Obi-Wan as you seem to be. I didn't think it was poorly done. I think that, like, there are goofy parts of it, like the Leia chase scene, episode 2, the second episode where he's on that, you know, city,
The
neon city
parkour
planet.
planet.
Yeah. But I feel like the second half of that season, 3 through 6, I thought it was pretty good.
I mean, we did have Bell. We did have Jimmy Smits. Can't beat that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Obi-Wan's my 4. Obi-Wan's my 4. Then Clone Wars and Bad Batch. Now, Tales of the Jedi. Tales of the Jedi is better than Bad Batch.
Oh, I forgot about Tales of the Jedi. Yeah.
There you go.
I don't really remember Bad Batch, which tells you everything you need to know about, I guess, I mean, I didn't think it was bad. It just wasn't. I was like, okay.
I think Bad Batch is interesting because of what they set up for season 2 of the whole cloning stuff. Like they're going to tie in more of this cloning. Hopefully, talk more about cloning. So it's not such an abrupt. Oh, what, the Emperor cloned himself? Somehow he returned. Anyway, we don't need to rehash things we've rehashed a million times on this show. Tell us what you guys thought of Andor. Season 2 has started filming just a few days ago. Oh, we didn't talk about the post-credit scene.
Oh yeah, which was
What did you
also
think of that
great.
reveal? I thought for sure we wouldn't have. I thought for sure there's no way we'd ever find out what they're making, but we find out. What do you think of it? You like it? Hate it?
I feel like I think it is fine. I have seen the social media reactions of like, oh, it's poetic that Cassian was building the very thing will end up taking his life. I get that. Um, but I think if we were going to find out what they were making, it had to be the Death Star. It wouldn't make any sense for them to reveal, yeah, they were making, you know,
TIE fighters.
yeah, TIE fighters, no. It was either the Death Star or don't tell us.
Yeah.
And it was obviously a very, like, visually aesthetic, very cool shot of the Death Star being built.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was a perfect post-credit scene. Kind of the same idea. I mean, was it necessary? No. Was it cool? Yes. I'm a bit surprised. I think it was surprising to see how close to finished it looked, being still 5 years away. But that's just a nitpicky thing. I did think it was interesting though, and I wonder if it was on purpose. Like that was an entire planet's prison worth of stuff, right? Those little pentagon things, hex or six-sided stars, and they were such a minute and tiny part of the Death Star. You know, Like this was thousands of men's jobs in this prison, and it was just one tiny little grain of sand in an ocean, right? So, what other things is the Empire doing on other planets, right?
Oh, definitely.
So,
And how
anyway.
to and they're building more than one because they've got Return of the Jedi version somewhere
They've got
building
another
that
one. They've got to start making another one too.
That's why the Return of the Jedi version one doesn't look complete. It's all incomplete because, they had that prison escape on, where Andor was, and so they didn't have enough parts to build the second one for Return of the Jedi.
That's right. The Narkina 5 prison is shut
Yeah,
down.
Narkina 5.
Let us know what you think of the season. Where does it rank in your Disney Plus shows? Where does it rank against The Last Jedi? Better or worse? That's all that we have. I think the next thing that's coming up is Bad Batch season 2, and then possibly Mandalorian season 3 next year. Anyway, I've got my little son at the door banging, so I've got to go. Sean, this is the way.
And we have spoken, and we'll see you next time on The Dads of Dagobah.